Hello, everyone. So here is Munir Lazouzi from Easy Medical Device. So thanks for everybody for joining. So today we will be discussing about three main topics, and I have my expert. I will introduce them. So just let's review that. First, we'll discuss about the May 26, 2024. It was a famous date. So now what's happening there? Second, we will discuss about notified bodies, the situation. So we had the surveys and we will have some review of the situation there. And third, we'll discuss about artificial intelligence in medical devices. We talk a lot about ChatGPT and everything, but how we can also look at that on medical devices itself. So let's start with, so this is the dandy of the panel. He's a car lover. Always a smile and supporting the medical device community with his posts from all over the world and his podcast. So this is Mr. Karandeep Badwal. Hey, Karandeep.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me on the show today. Pleasure.
Great.
To be on.
Thanks for joining, Karandeep. So the second one is Mein Damen und Herren. He's the thinker, very well known during the Oktoberfest. He's our Bavarian expert. He leads the Beyond Quality consulting firm. So this is the unique Stefan Bolleininger. Hey, Stefan.
Greetings, guys. Greetings. Hey.
Thanks, Stefan. Thanks for joining. The next one, and now we have our clinician, which he travels between consulting, developing software, and making content on the internet. He's probably the only person in the world who likes the MDR. He's the leader of the For Better Devices consulting firm. A lot of applause for Cesare Magri.
Hello, everyone.
Hey. And the last one. So finally, we have the last one. So his mustache traveled all the world, but his accent is from Scotland. He's coming out of Glasgow. He's the other consultant. I have the pleasure to introducing you to Issacs Rae. Hey, Adam.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thanks to everyone for joining. Really appreciated that you are joining to this stream.
Unearth the pulse of the medtech world with MedTech Conf, a dynamic platform featuring global events on medical devices, biologicals, IVD, and pharmaceuticals. Stay informed, stay ahead, connect, share, and elevate your knowledge. Become an official sponsor. Make your event shine on the map. MedTech Conf, your key to the medtech universe. Remember, the future is now, and it's at your fingertips with MedTech Conf.
So as said, we will try to really educate everybody on the situation related to medical devices in Europe. We have a lot of topics to discuss. Three main topics to discuss. But before that, I asked everybody just to provide some kind of a random news. So something that mainly they can share with us or they want to share with us and see, that can be, I hope, interesting maybe for the audience. So Karandeep, you want to start?
Yes, so I'll be restarting my small snippet videos of where I get complex topics in medical devices and trim them down into 2 minutes.
So you will do again your question, like which topic, because I know that you have that on the LinkedIn, which topic people prefer or wants to hear from you, and then shoots from that, or?
Yeah, definitely. So if there's anyone here listening today and there's a particular topic that's bugging you, feel free to send me a message.
And you'll do still the same from the forest, because you are liking the nature.
Yes, this time I'm going to try to make as many videos as I can, because in the UK we only get 5 days of summer, so I'm going to try to get most of this.
Can imagine, to be honest. Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks, Karandeep. And I'm really impatient to see the next one. Stefan, what's your random news?
Well, I learned a lot in all the years about MDR, but now it's something I learned this week, the first time. So that I learned that there are companies who pay more than €1 million for the certification, initial certification. So it's 7 digits. What I've seen at the numbers is 5 millions and 4 millions, and a few of them more. So that's something I've never seen. And the data indicates that they are valid.
So 5 million for one company?
One company.
Really?
I don't know what kind of companies that can be, but I've not seen that prices yet. But I've seen the number.
So okay, so I've never heard of this number. For me, when they reach already 200,000 euro, it's like wow, it's a huge number. So million, we have I mean, if maybe if people are on the audience and have also this experience, you can also share that with us, and we'll look at that. But yeah, it's I never heard about that. Where did you get this information? Is there like somewhere posted, somebody posted that, or you get information from somebody, or?
There was a survey from Austria, and they analyzed the data, and they analyzed the high runners and the low runners and the ones in the middle to get a very fair values. And there have been low runners, which have been sometimes mathematical issues as well as context issues, and there have been others with extremely high numbers. And after verifying those, it came out that the numbers are what the number indicates actually correct, which was shocking. So some notified bodies must have really deep pockets.
I mean, when my customers are asking me how much should I pay for notified body, I should pay maybe up to 5 million. So just to scare them. I think great news. I mean, let's see maybe if there's anybody in the audience that has some comments about that. But yeah, let's look at that. Adam.
Mine's is not related to medical devices at all, but mine's is related to all of the audience. If you want to sweeten up our host, Munir, I found out this week he's a fan of chocolate gelato.
Oh, really? I mean, I had just one. It's not like no, it was really hot. It was really hot. When we met, it was really hot, to be honest. We had just a few drinks, and that day I said, yeah, let's have some gelato, some ice cream, and it was not so good, to be honest. The one we ate was not really great. So
it was also a slightly inappropriate time to have ice cream. It was like
because everybody was closing one after the other. So at the end, it was like, okay,
it was like 7 p.m. It's very, very frowned upon in France to have dessert at 7 p.m.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't wait until the end when everybody's closing.
Yeah,
great. So we have just a few comments from Michael Kanya, just quickly. So that's 3.5 million for data search. So I don't know if this helps. Stefan, what do you have?
I was hoping. No, it was no consulting costs involved, no internal costs involved. It was just notified body cost.
Okay. So and another comment from Ronald Bouman. So for notified body opinion, I have seen quotes with hourly rates over 900 euro per hour. Yeah, I should change my fees there. I mean, this looks like US. You know, the US hourly rate is more like that for lawyers or this kind of thing. But for consultants like that, it's a lot. Let's change. Let's remove from consulting and go to notified body opinion.
Could it be that they had a reference lab that they had to involve for some class?
Maybe IVDA. If it's IVDR, yeah, maybe I don't know. Yeah,
Stefan, does that also?
It's clearly MDR.
Okay.
There's also.
I honestly, I'm so sorry that I have no clue how that number was generated, but I'm trying to find out, because that was one of the first times I really felt over my stool.
I mean, I would have done the same if everybody has said that to me. To be honest, it's a lot. Okay, so Cesare, your turn. What's your news?
Yes, it is official. The MDR will be delayed by 1 year. I'm joking. It's official next week. You'll be able to access our software evidence directly from the website. You click and you start using, and you can start working.
So before, how people could have accessed that before?
Yeah, now they have to go to contact us, get in touch. We will make an instance, and it will take time, and it's complicated. Now you can just click and use a demo.
So just maybe for the others, because I'm also on this journey of making some applications, and to be honest, it's a lot. So are you enjoying software development, or?
Depends on the day. When you're asking me these questions, I mean, these things like setting up these automatic instances, it's really a pain, I have to say. But I prefer when it's like development of features and this kind of things. That I really like. And,
Great. So
these
yeah,
technical things are a bit more boring.
yeah, I have the same. I don't. I mean, the issue is more about discussing with the developers because they have no clue about our business. So when we are explaining to them, we think it's obvious, but for them, it's like no, it's not obvious at all. So it's more about the translation between us and the developers, which is sometimes a bit difficult here. Great. So thanks everyone again for this random news. Do we have another comments? I have another comment. Yeah, okay. From what's his name? Ronald. So the company paid me to find someone cheaper that works well. So if you want to find someone cheaper for helping, you can ask Ronald Boomans then. Great. Great. So our first topic of the day will be the May 26, 2024. So I asked Adam if he can make a small summary of the situation, and then let's have a debate here, also a discussion about this. So first, this is the kind of famous date that everybody was talking about, that maybe after that there will be a catastrophe. So Adam, is it a catastrophe?
Well, the world's not collapsed. The sun was out in Scotland recently, so I'm not sure. You know? So no, it's for me. It's kind of, I don't know, but it feels slightly bizarre to still be talking about the 26th of May. You know, it feels like we were, you know, I think everyone noticed industry kind of going quite quiet, and everyone was, you could tell everyone was focused on that date. And that date passed, and it just kind of felt like a bit of a kind of like anticlimax almost. So no, I've not seen anything that's kind of, you know, as expected. I didn't expect anything to kind of fall out of the sky with this. I think we will see. Yeah. I think we'll see the kind of repercussions or potential impact from it. You know, I think with like everything with MDR, it's kind of further down the life cycle. So, you know, I think we will feel, you know, any pain that comes from some stuff that we'll probably speak about with the guys, like, you know, shortage of devices, or, you know, manufacturer capacity, notified body capacity, like in a few months, as opposed to, you know, kind of fairly effective immediately. One thing I think that is definitely worth discussing is say Class 1 devices. You know, I think we kind of all discuss, you know, I think from my perspective anyway, you know, Class 1 devices, MDR, you know, it was way back in 2021. They were supposed to kind of have it. But I've seen, and we all have probably seen, quite a lot of manufacturers that had the 26th of May in mind. So now...
you mean the wrong one? They had the 2024 instead of the 2021?
Yeah, quite common, you know, because it was, you know, if you think of it, Class 1 manufacturers, it's not... I thought that was a fake beer, Stefan. I didn't realise it was real. So totally caught me off. Yeah. So I think Class 1 devices, I think there's probably going to be quite a lot of devices now that manufacturers are going to be in the position of, well, what do we do, and how do we deal with this? So I was keen to see kind of what the thoughts on the rest of the panel were, because I've worked with quite a lot of devices recently that have kind of, you know, been in that position of, well, we think we have MDD extensions, but actually then you tell them, you're a Class 1, you should have done this 3 years ago, basically, you know. So, and, you know, so I think it's quite an interesting topic, that.
So the only thing that I know that is for Class 1 that are up classified, then they can get this extension if they want, but for the ones that are not up classified, there is no extension at all. For the rest of the panel, so have you had any of this kind of experience also, or? Hey, just a second. Do you need a EU, Swiss or UK representative? Then choose Easy Medical Device. We can represent you and also become your importer. Contact us at eo@easymedicaldevice.com. Stefan?
Yeah, it was the same on nearly, I think, at every end. And then there will have be companies where you are sure they remain in Class 1 and write some nice little letters stating, oh, in the future we will be a Class 2A or a Class 2B product, so we can use the full transition period. Yeah, I've seen lots of them. So,
but at a certain point, nobody's really checking them, I think. So it's
no. If you do it, there's no one who is able to check them, and no one is participating in controlling them, because there's no one has the duty to do that. Actually, the competent authorities could, but that's not their preferred way of doing, because they work with the manufacturers quite well in many cases. And then they sometimes ask, hey, have you registered in UDOMID? Have you a single registration number? Have you ensured your vigilance duty? And if you have say, yes, I did. Here's my number. I did everything correct. Then they have no point to prove that you have done it really correctly. And if you have a letter stating, hey, I want to be a Class 2A product, and especially for software, that works so well. Because you can tell so often, yeah, the rule has changed so much, we will be a Class 2A, and therefore that letter is valid. And then afterwards, you find out, oops, I'm still a Class 1 product. So,
yeah. So this is something that's interesting, because for me, the experience is that I see no pressure from the competent authorities, but more pressure from the distributors, importers, that are asking, oh, do you have a proof to me that you have the letter from notified body, or do you have a proof to me that you are benefiting from this extension, etc. And these are where the problems are starting, because sometimes they had some of them that contacted me and say, what should I send to them? I say, but you are a Class 1, you should be already certified since a few years, no? So yeah, they understand the issue at that moment,
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that the competent, sorry.
No, you go, Cesar.
No, I wouldn't say that the competent authorities don't check. I mean, they actually check also by Class 1 manufacturers, and they also sometimes contact manufacturers of devices that have not been certified to ask clarification. I've seen that happening.
yes,
I would say that in general,
super rare.
in general, I think they have a very propositive approach. So what they they are not there to kill the businesses, but they are somehow there to find a solution. So I'm pretty sure that even if now there is a Class 1 manufacturer that didn't like to things, they will try to find a compromise and find a solution. So it's not that they're going to go there and put the police at their door. It's
exactly. So don't play the police. Yeah.
And also, I think honestly, I would invite the manufacturer, if they are worried about it and they're confused, they can also contact authorities and try to find a solution with them. I'm really sure that they're not trying to kill the business, but to try I've seen it happen like really well. They went quite miles of compromise.
So I see on the comment that Eddie says that Swissmedic is currently checking Class 1 products MDR.
Yes.
So apparently, because I saw that they are making also some reports out of their checks. What are the issues? Also on authorized representative, importer, etc. So Swissmedic are doing a lot of those checks, but I don't see that too much from maybe on the European side.
It's impossible to police it. There's the mechanism is not there to police it and enforce it from the MDR perspective. So, and the mechanism was not intended to be there. It kind of seems it's risk-based, but I do think it's an area that I've seen, increasingly causing a bit of confusion, and I don't see any mechanism to monitor it. Say on the availability of medical devices dashboard, there's kind of nothing really discussing this interruption for Class 1s or anything like that. I kind of think they're slightly lost, these manufacturers.
Also because probably they don't care if too many Class 1 gets interrupted.
So the only way I see that the authorities may be pushing that is by a competitor that is contacting them and tell them, oh, this company is not following EU MDR. I mean, it happens. So it's why it's the only really way that I see that the authorities will really focus on that, because I saw some companies that visited the website of other companies and checked that and find that there are a lot of claims and they had no CE or they had no things. And when they asked them, can you show me your declaration of conformity? Then they showed maybe one of MDD. And then they say, oh, but now it's MDR, etc. So, but they were targeted by competitors. So it's mainly the way it has worked.
Yeah, but that's a courtesy of the competent authorities. Because if the best thing is, don't put a CE mark on it, because then they have no point with them, because then it's not their duty. If you have a CE mark with the wrong classification and your competitor says, hey, they have the wrong classification, they only say it was technically, legally correct. Saying what the competent authorities can do is saying, hey, sue them.
No, but we were, for example, once contacted by a software manufacturer at being contacted by the competent authority to provide the justification why their software was not a medical device, actually.
Yes.
And so in that case, they actually had to explain to the competent authorities why they didn't do a CE mark. So, and there's some kind of random check. Sometimes I think they check the stores also, this kind of thing. There is somebody. It's not super intensive. It's not dramatic in effect, but there is. And I think in any case that they will always try to try. So they're not there to shut down businesses. I would say. They're there to gently invite, but that has been the case with all the classification of class 1 devices. I mean, they've never been particularly
less than a tenth of percent. Less than a tenth of percent. And as Michael points out quite now, yes, they do some checks, but normally if you got in that check, there's no random mechanism behind it. There's a surveillance mechanism behind that. So they had you on the list already in the past. Yeah. Then they do their normal surveillance. It's not because of MDR or anything. It's just because they put you in a spot and say, hey, you will need to do that.
Yeah.
Agree. Okay, so mainly this is for class 1. What about the rest of the classification? Because you maybe have some manufacturers that were not able to make it to the 26th of May 2024, even if they have a C certificate under MDD. So is there any other points on this one?
Yeah, so the goalpost, 26th of May is done. The next date is the 26th of September, which is probably the next sprint for everyone. And I think a lot of people have kind of been maybe caught out by this date, because I think a lot of people confused the application between a written agreement.
Exactly.
So
even me, when I made my video, because I made a video and I said agreement with notified bodies, when I should have said application first on the 26th of May, and agreement should be on the 26th of September. So now you have like 2-3 months that notified bodies will be checking your applications and reviewing them. And by the 26th of September 2024, then you have to be signed with them. And if you are not signed with them, normally, if it's okay, they cannot sell anymore.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. So that again is going to be almost it's another very, very kind of drastic date in the calendar. Again, and I think it's probably going to go into what you'll discuss, Cesar, with the surveys, because there's some really interesting data on the time between an application being submitted to the time of which a written agreement is actually kind of signed. The survey's got some really interesting data on that. So the next thing is really
be able to make it. According to a survey, it should work.
Yeah. So I think that's the next focus as manufacturers on the 26th of September, making sure that agreement is an agreement, not an application, that is signed with, I think leverage the data that Cesar will speak about, which is, I think the overwhelming statistic was that, so many of the applications were refused because the notified body didn't have the correct designation for the codes that that device was matching for. And I would kind of urge manufacturers to check the NANDO database for that notified body, look at the codes of which they're designated for before you're doing that application.
And I had this experience with one of my manufacturers. So we checked the NANDO and it was fine, but you had even to check the MDS and MDT codes for MDR, because we checked just the MDA and MDN for non-active, MDA and MDN, and it was fine. But then when we applied, say, oh yeah, but you contain some medicinal substance, so then we are not authorized for medicinal substance, etc. So this is also the idea of don't forget to check also the MDS and MDT.
Good point. And then the last bit on there is kind of post the 26th of September. Manufacturers should start to consider what does surveillance look like for legacy devices under this landscape, because it's a time period of which none of us have really lived through. It's going to be the first stage of it, So there's a great NDCG document. It's 2022-4, which kind of goes through the surveillance activities depending on the particular scenario. It basically says, if it's the 26th of May when it expires and you're not going to transition, forget about it.
But actually, surveillance, they should have started quite a bit of time ago, no? So not just after these deadlines now, but that's the part. They should have done it.
Yes.
Already long time ago, and so there should already be have their PSURs there and so on since the previous date. So
yeah, in terms of kind of upcoming surveillance when MDD is not going to be, for these new, once the transitional arrangements in place, once you've kind of issued your declaration to say we're compliant with 10.9, and then you're moving into surveillance to say, understand what that looks like. And I'd say that NDCG guidance is really good, just to kind of specify that on kind of what these scenarios are. And it essentially says that depending on what's going on, you should have your notified body assigned. The relevant parts for the transitional arrangements, like you said, Cesar, should be in place already for that, like to the NDD. And then depending on where you are, it moves on to the relevant level of surveillance. They give, in that MDCG document, they give like 4 scenarios, depending on, which is very specific, which kind of does like almost like a what if scenario basically on each kind of potential circumstance. So I'd urge everyone to kind of have a look at that document. And, the man himself, Eric Vollerbrecht as well, that his blog post on this is very, very insightful. Contains some super unique takes on things from his very unique perspective as a medical device lawyer, who's actually involved in some of these consultations that have been written.
Yeah, I really recommend to go to this blog post. It helps you to view the risks and the situation now after the 26th of May. So what's happening and mainly what are the risks there. I see just a comment from Michael Kanya, which he said EU stats from the last year, 75% of application and not completed. What do you mean by that? So we 75 applied and still not finished, or from last year?
It's part of the statistics, so that the notified body.
Sure? Okay.
Yeah, they say that so most of the application are not complete.
From last year?
No, from the last survey, the one of February 2024.
Okay, because it says from last year. So okay, so
it's a very complicated diagram. Actually, also the way they asked it, I really had to go and read the paper that explains how they did the survey. Honestly, they convey the message, but the exact number it's really not that transparent because it's a proportion of notified body that reflects a proportion of completed applications.
Okay.
It's a bit weird.
Understand.
They're continually kind of extending that data set, which is kind of again throwing the whole skew out. It's quite. I find the dashboard quite confusing, to look at. So and I think Munir, just before we kind of finish up on that, I think one of the other areas was just that Eric mentioned specifically that I think is worth calling out was that there's kind of depending on the risk class, there's under the extensions there's till 2027 or 2028, depending on what it is. But there's kind of no legal mechanism in which notified bodies have to have those conformity assessments complete by then. So in a few years, it's kind of likely that we might end up in this position again, where you've got extensions having to be issued because there's devices that say haven't managed, or notified issues with notified body capacity, or just essentially a little bit of maybe a micro repeat of what the 5 of us have been living for the last 5 years. Where it's going to get to that stage, and because you look at it, Cesar will go through just the stats, but you look at it, the amount of time that applications are taking, 13 to 18 months for the majority of them. The nature of the applications being refused. It just looks like you're just kind of thinking this is just the pharmaceutical industry took 30 years to reform the regulations. It's
the same thing here.
Yeah, we're not going to be done. We're not going to be done by 2028.
It's also the same kind of mental leap. So it's also the same kind of perspective change that the pharma underwent. It's going to take exactly the same. I think that's why sometimes I find it funny this discussion. It's already 5 years. This is a process that's going to go on for another 20 years.
Yeah,
we're just at the beginning of it.
Yeah.
Massive. Okay, great. So thanks. I think so. Let's maybe move to the next topic. So the next topic is about notified body situation. So Cesare, if you can just give us maybe your perspective on that.
Yeah. So I was going through the survey. I mean, it doesn't look dramatically. There is a new version of the survey that was released in May, and it's based on the data of February 2024. So I think one thing is probably this survey will not reflect the final rush of the MDR deadline because it was still February, and I'm sure that in those last month a lot has happened. I mean, I'm 100% sure.
Yeah.
So probably the next one will look different, but this one doesn't look dramatically different from the previous one. I mean, I think there is some information that's essentially confirmed, and one is about this duration from application to agreement, which honestly doesn't look too bad. If the numbers are correct, the average one is 2 months. I think it's true. And there can be a difference. I'm sure that in the last time, it probably was longer. I mean, there were notified bodies not replying anymore because, I mean, not replying, I mean, taking the really ages to replying to basic emails because they were.
Yeah, we see a lot of notified bodies that are even saying, "Oh, we have some spots. So join us, come to us, etc." When before, I remember that everybody was calling them and nobody was answering. Emails were not called or not answered. The phones were not picked, etc. So now it's a different story, apparently.
Yeah, but I do believe that there are still some that are a space. I mean, the problem is that it's a bit polarized market as well. You know, there are the stars notified bodies, and then there are the notified bodies that are maybe less known, that they have still space. Obviously, many manufacturers want to go to the star because it's also prestige things.
Yeah.
I want a certain certification. It's then they complain about it, but it's sometimes a bit like that. But I do strongly believe that there are some that are at free capacity. Not only because, I mean, they were getting ready 1 year ago to that there was supposed to be a deadline, and then the deadline got moved, and then they practically found themselves like waiting. So I think they really had a hole. And then it jumped back up again close to the deadline because that was the next big things. And I just talked at MedTech Live with a notified body. We're like, what's SGS Germany? I will make your commercial for that. They came and said we have for example space. I talked to Sud Italy. They also said they had capacity. So I do believe that there is probably now there was some compression in terms of clients.
Yeah, for what we've seen is also that there's a lot of free capacity currently. So it's not that it is a bit or just for 1 or 2 spots. There's a lot of, and especially the bigger notified parties are currently very restructuring their own procedures to review, to make yourself faster. So that's what, I don't know, Cesare, if you have seen that the presentation in MedTech Live from Andreas Purde. He explained what a manufacturer can do to cut down the review time by 30 to 60%. And what is the big things, the big steps they need to take? So there's a lot of room of improvements there. Good, okay. Andreas is always a super great guy, and he's very pushy in that direction. So that's one end, but on the other end, if we can save 40% of review time, that's huge.
Yeah.
So review time, because we have the review at the beginning. You have the first review of if the file is complete, and then we have the real review by each assessor one by one. Are we talking about both or just the first one?
Full time to certificate.
The certification
30% of Michael Kania was I suppose at that course, but because from Andreas Purde, and he's a super great. He showed a lot of things to how to make our life better and easier.
Yeah, so
3 times.
Three times review time. Yeah,
That's quite interesting. I think because I think I'm not sure if I think Stefan and Cesar, you would have definitely seen it, but the German Trade Association I think is lobbying to kind of change the kind of recertification cycles from say 5 years to. I don't know what they've kind of proposed, but
they want to remove the requirement of recertification after 5 years.
Yeah, for 5 years, which I've seen. So I think that's a really interesting proposal, and I know that I think Eric is also on board with that from that blog post. Again, worth checking that out. But I was just wanting to see what you guys think of that as well.
So repeat again. What's the proposal?
to remove the 5-year kind of recertification cycle. Essentially, it's defined from the NBOG documents and from the Commission. I can't remember it was back in September 2013. They defined the sampling regime for like technical documentation and how that works. And there's a little bit of noise about people wanting to remove that kind of structure.
Remove it means what? Means replacing it with something, or remove it means that as soon as you are certified, you just have surveillance audits only?
They will not review the entire VD after a certain time of period of time.
Set number of full recertification audits does not really happen. You have a recertification audit, so the audit amount is higher, so it's audit time, but the technical file assessment, if you have sufficient devices in the same scope, you only had an amount according to the MDCG document will be checked anyway. So technically, if you do it clever, so your technical file per product will be reviewed every 8 to 10 years. So you have 2 cycles in one run.
Yeah.
But in general, I also think that there's no reason to review the files. I mean, if you got it reviewed, there's going to be the auditing. I think that's sort of a fair thing. Considering that it's taking quite long.
On that end, I totally disagree. Totally disagree. I've worked so long with manufacturers. I worked so much with manufacturers. And the problem is not the initial certification, but maintaining the technical documentation. And therefore, the threat of having that technical documentation reviewed again and then probably taken off the market is a big step to ensure that we do the right thing. Even if we have the PRRC, still that is the right trigger to do that.
But the notified body already has the audits to check that.
But the audit and technical file assessment are 2 different things.
Yeah,
totally different.
It's true, but I mean, it's not that they are lacking the tools. I mean, I think what I don't like of how this thing has been presented also, I think was, I don't know if it was Metaclass. No, I remember there were these titles, MDR is going to be completely overall, is going away, when actually I think there were a few pragmatic points that were made. I think one is, this is one of them. I mean, this review process is in the end a big effort for manufacturer, for everybody, but it's also a big cost. So I honestly, if you structure it like this, where you have the first review and then they have the chance to look at things, and if they are not convinced, then they can dig further. I think it's a fair approach. Honestly.
I won't go to disagree.
I think the emphasis. Sorry, Stefan.
Sorry, if you say to the notified body, hey, you have the chance each year to select all the data you want, and don't give them the way to say, no, you check that amount, that's a minimum amount, and you do it in that steps. If you don't do that and say to them, hey, you can do that all during the audit shows me the management system is available. If you add the technical file on that per year, you open the door, that's a notified body, depending on their actual capacity, can decide without cost limit for the manufacturer, I take now all of your technical files. So that opens the door for the notified body to completely break down the manufacturer. And that is what that cycle prevents. Therefore, I think that cycle is a good idea.
So, Karandeep, what do you think about all that?
I was going to say, I agree with Stefan on this one, because when you're having your audits, they're only looking at a very small sample. When you go through the recertification process, it's almost like having that initial certification. Now, that is your technical file is being looked from A to Z. During the audits, they're just looking at a portion of it and saying, okay, on the surface, does this look all right? Does it look like they're doing everything correct? But it's not a deep dive. So effectively, between that cycle, you can get away with a lot of things. But when it comes to recertification time, everything has to be in order or you will lose your certificate.
So I don't know if you have this experience, but on the recertification time, they ask us to give them the table with all the technical files, and then they have to pick one. And you are here, please pick the right one.
But there's a fundamental problem though there, which is, the way things have been reviewed through the years have changed dramatically, and it will keep changing in the next 50 years. So At the beginning, notified body focused on they were asked to focus on the clinical evidence. So there was a big point. And now they're starting to focus on PMS. We are just at the beginning of it. Then it's going to be the link to risk management. If each time they will honestly reopen the entire discussion on files that have already been reviewed, it's going to be a revolt, and I sort of understand that also from the point of manufacturer. So if you check that they're doing their job with keeping the TD according to a proper change management QMS system, following the processes, so I think it's fair for manufacturer to assume that their TD is still compliant. I think that's really a point. It's a technical point of MDR where I think, okay, I agree that there you can do something. What I don't like are when there is discussion of overhauling the logic of it. But I think this is like a sort of pragmatic point that can truly be addressed, honestly.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point. Yeah.
Sorry, Manuel. Yeah, my kind of stance on it is I think QMS audits and technical documentation totally separate things. So I think that they need to be looked at separately, and I think they can be treated slightly separately. I agree with everyone, really, but I think my kind of stance on it, in a way, but I also kind of have my particular stance on it, would be that the MDR is a fundamental change since the MDD. I think the sampling regime is the reason I think it's been looked at to be changed, is because there's changes to PMS, so PSURs, for example, coming in. So the question that I would probably be asking, if we're not willing to change this recertification scheme, are we assuming that the MDR is not more effective than the MDD? If we're not willing to say, right, you can space out your recertification or space out the time between your technical file samples, and does that mean the MDD is not going to make a difference, or the MDR is not going to make a difference essentially to the output of that? So
you said this is a proposal, so sent now to the EU Commission, or?
It's been I've seen that there was I think it's the German Trade Association. I'll get the link for you, Manuel.
It came from different sites. I think it's a coordinated action. So I think so. I didn't like the rumors around it because it was like presented. Oh, now MDR is going to be gone. This is a revolution, which is not true. But when I then went above the title and read the details, I was like, okay. I mean, this doesn't it sounds like a concrete proposal. I think it's
nothing will happen.
Okay, so
I'm not sure. I mean, that's the kind of thing that I think they can really take over. I mean, there is going to be this. Honestly, I think that the Commission has been more reactive than I would have ever expected. Also with this extension, I mean, they went to the extent of also almost self-humiliation, honestly, with this deadline.
They had an election 2 weeks ago. Nothing will happen.
Okay.
But so the structure of the parliament was practically left unchanged. So it's going to be most likely the same actor, and I think they've been receptive of the moods, and they've tried to react somehow. Yeah. I'm not sure they try to react always in the best way, but they did. For example, I'm not sure that the deadline delay was the best way to approach this criticism, but because I think it was a bit like shooting on oneself foot, I mean, in terms of being serious with what you propose. But I think they've been listening a lot. I mean, you can also just see in LinkedIn. Sometimes you notice them looking at your post. They look around, so they are there and they are listening. So, and I think this was not a generic complaint down by the field. Oh, we're tired. This is bad. But this was a concrete one. So I think they might be doing something on it.
I do think it is, like you said, Cesar. It's from a point of pragmatism. It's kind of one of these things that would only have been. It's the Commission and they're not going to be able to think of everything. And this is one of those things, I think, as we move along this process together as industry, we'll see more about it and we'll all understand whether it's needed or not.
Right. So let's Stefan, your last word maybe, and then we can move to the next topic because you have 15 minutes.
I look way younger than I am. I've been so long in that business already. I've seen that all with the MDD. And actually, what is in that proposal is nothing else than what we had in the past already in the beginning prior to MDD. That was changed because of reasons. So it was the electromedicine laws. So that has been changed by good reasons. It has been changed to MDR by good reasons by the recitals. And now I'm very against that GTA letter because that we shall revert us backwards for the sake of making the life of industry easier, not for the product to be safer. Therefore, I have very small hopes that it works out, and I hope that it will not work out.
Okay. So let's maybe do on another episode. We'll see what is the result if after a few months maybe. So let's look at that.
I bet a box of beer.
You'll have to do water for me. Maybe I don't drink beer. So okay. So let's do the next topic. So Karandeep, the next topic is about AI for software as medical device. So there was few announcements also that happened this week or last week. So what is your summary, if I can say, of the situation with AI for software?
Sure, just to give a brief background. So the recent documentation that was released was regards to transparency for machine learning enabled medical devices in terms of the guiding principles, which came out, I believe, in 2021. And they were by the US FDA, Health Canada, and the MHRA, in which they came up with 10 guiding principles for good machine learning practice. And this particular document that came out the other week talks about transparency. So transparency, of course, is very important when it comes to machine learning, AI, or just medical devices in general. We need to be super clear about what the device does, how it works, etc., and what kind of information is coming from it. Now, generally speaking, a lot of companies out there have very open claims where they're not being very transparent or they're not very clear in terms of how exactly it works. And of course, in my opinion, it comes down to having a weak intended use statement. So who, why, what, where, when, and how. Those are the questions that you must ask. So who?
It's the same as a it's the same as a kappa. You have to ask the same question as for a kappa.
It comes down to who is the relevant audiences? Who are you targeting? Is this pediatrics? Is this an older generation? Is this adults? And then why? What is your motivation? What exactly are you looking to get from this? And of course, what is the relevant information? Where is the placement of that information? When, of course, the timing, and how exactly. So examples I can give. So for example, who is going to be receiving the information from this device? Is it going to be a healthcare practitioner? Is it going to be an end user? Is it going to be an elderly person sitting at home reviewing this information? You need to factor that in there and make sure it's in a clear way for them to understand. So why? Is it safe and effective for use? Is it patient-centered care, etc.? What is the intended use of the device? What is the characterization of it? What are the performance? What are the benefits? What are the risks? And of course, most importantly, what are the limitations? You need to be considering biases. You need to start considering confidence intervals, etc. What are the limitations of your device? Because there's many companies out there make the mistake of, yes, our device has 500 different indications. It can detect 500 different things. No, that's not the case. It's maybe good at 2 or 3, and that is the limitation. So it's very important that you get that as well. And then, of course,
discovering the MDR.
What it comes down to is pure. Yeah, sorry, Cesare, go ahead.
It's they are discovering the MDR. I mean, it's the same principle of the MDR.
So effectively, that's what it comes down to. That was what this guidance document was all about: is being transparent, being very clear. You shouldn't need a guidance document to tell you this. It's common sense to do this, but unfortunately, common sense isn't so common.
So in terms of that, so as you see, it's US, UK, and Canada that published that. Do you think this will be used also by notified bodies for our devices, EU MDR devices?
I believe a lot of the information here is stuff that you should be doing anyway.
Yeah, I see. It's common sense. It's common sense. Yeah, so exactly.
But two things. Because the EU also had very similar guidelines. There were these blue guidelines on which practically the AI Act was built on top. And this could mean two things: that they are getting ready to also regulate something, just like it happened in Europe. First, they issued the ethical points, and then they built the regulatory framework for it. And I think there is so because these points here, I mean, like in the MDR, these purpose points are one thing, but there is one big problem with transparency in some of the machine learning issue, which is how things were trained and which data were used. I think that sometimes with transparency they also mean this part, which is not very easy for manufacturers to be transparent on, because they themselves don't know exactly how the algorithm in the end might work, or not all aspects might be clear to them as well. That's why in the AI Act there is all this training part that also you should provide training to everyone in your company about the mechanism of I think it sounds easy, but it's not that easy to do. Just like being clear and in an intended purpose sounded super easy, but it's very, very, very hard for manufacturers to do, honestly. And I think this is it's like the layer of being transparent on the intended purpose, on which you put the layer of being transparent on the technology, which is not trivial.
So here we talk about transparency, about the data, but who it is for, etc. Is there also a request of transparency, like GDPR, for example? Why will use the data, privacy, etc.? Is like what is the intention at the end for the data? So like for example, I collect your data for maybe training my device, but I will maybe use that also for something else also. So is there this principle, I suppose?
I don't know the principles off the top of my head, but I believe it does exist somewhere.
I think AI Act maybe is now asking for that, the AI Act, but so I don't know if now this guidance is also related to transparency. Is there any privacy requirements or this kind of things? Because we are giving, for example, on those mobile application, whatever, we are giving a lot of our data. They will be collecting that for giving us the answer, if I can say, to our question, or to identify a treatment or whatever. But maybe they will collect that for doing something else with it. So the ideas are more about where are we stopping here to say, oh, what we are providing to you should be just used for that, not for the rest. Should not be using that for training or for using my data for anything else. So it's mainly about that.
But you need to resolve that with GDPR anyway.
Yeah.
Therefore, you have GDPR to be applied. So I hopefully not again in a different guidance, because you have it already.
Yeah.
Those are non-European guidance, no? So they don't. They won't refer to GDPR.
Yeah, but then you have HIPAA rules and all the other rules as well.
Yeah, this is the problem with kind of vertical regulation landscapes, isn't it? For manufacturers, they have these kind of different areas to kind of work to, where they all kind of integrate in the same way. MDR links to cybersecurity, which links to AI, which links to GDPR. They're all like integrated part of that management system.
So there was a question from Augusto Martins. Maybe artificial intelligence will support notified bodies to assess all the PMS documentation required for Class 1 devices. Business opportunity for notified bodies here. So
will never happen. Will never happen, because notified bodies are not for Class 1 products.
Yeah, yeah. He says Class 1, but for me, it's not for Class. Let's say Class 1, Class 1S, Class 1M, but let's say for class any class of devices.
Augusta has the opinion, yes, Mike's is super useful, not only for Class 1, for all products, it would be super useful. However, not for the Class 1 products, not for the notified body. They are not allowed to sell their services to the competent authority.
So do you think that artificial intelligence will also enter to notified bodies to make those assessments?
I think it will.
They would be stupid if not.
No.
I think it will.
Cesare says no, you say yes. So
no way. I mean, that's. I mean, maybe if they do it, they will never say it. So officially, absolutely not.
Okay.
There's some use of artificial intelligence software auditing tools being used within UK certification bodies and the United Kingdom Accreditation Service as well at the moment.
They are using that, or they will?
There's an exercise within in UCAS in the UK of them using it, and certification bodies also using it.
But exercise and sandbox, I think they're going to do many, but I want to see then the notified bodies talking to the authorities for the accreditation. I'm using an AI tool to assess the technical documentation and validate that. So this kind of things.
Yeah, why not? They would be stupid if they don't do that, because that's a free resource.
Yeah, it's true that it's not somebody that will complain on holidays or resources that will not be available or being sick or whatever. It's like
or losing.
I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure there is is there a manufacturers of system for notified bodies specifically? But I think they developed their own. Each of them developed their own system. No? So because we thought of that. We thought of that. Let's develop a system for notified bodies. But I think they actually do it sort of in house. I understand the reason, the need for it. I think makes sense for they will get scrutinized on that.
So Roland says ERA is rule-based and this does not need AI. However, the problem is to translate reality into legal text and vice versa. That is where AI may help. So it's, as I said, we are talking about AI inside medical devices, and here it's more AI to support all the regulatory affairs and all the notified bodies activities here. So the question will be then, will we have the same rules that we are placing in the medical device to also those kind of chat GPT things, if I can say? So this is mainly one of the item here. Okay.
One question to you guys, because I have a lot of fun stuff with my AI products. And one thing is, if I have a TensorFlow trained algorithm, model-based train, so a machine learned trained algorithm in a medical device. So just have trained the model, it pulls out an algorithm, that algorithm is deployed. Is this now an AI anymore or not? To my understanding, no, because it has no autonomy anymore. It has no adaptiveness anymore. It's just pushing through data, and it is adjusted and configured by a big AI.
Therefore, it's development. Exactly, the development was done through AI, but the final device is fixed device. So it's not moving anymore, not learning anymore, not doing anything. But the development way was AI development. So here, the only thing is about validation through the set of data that you have used to make the learning and everything. But at the end, the device itself, was developed through AI, but I don't know. I don't know if its definition will be like, if it's developed under AI, it is also AI-based device.
See, but the point is what the definition says: designed to operate with varying levels of autonomy. I have no varying level of autonomy anymore, and which may exhibit adaptiveness after deployment. It cannot be adapted after deployment. For me, it is fixed algorithm, like Cesare and I did for products together in the past with MATLAB.
Yeah.
But I think so. The question will depend on what one wants to do with this software. So if it's about getting the medical device certification, honestly, it doesn't make any difference. So all the software gets in the end.
But no AI applies in.
But no AI Act. So that's the difference going to be on the applicability. But honestly, for AI Act, we will have to see. It all depends on how they're going to implement it. So they promised not to interfere over the too much with what is done for MDR. If they truly do that, it shouldn't make so a crazy difference. If they don't, it can really.
I agree that there are some kind of gray area here that we have to be also careful about. Great. So I think we covered all the questions. Is there any questions on the audience that we have not covered? There was a question here about. No, it's not this one. That's correct. It's this one. Yeah. Was what about difference between EN ISO 13485 with the amendment and 2016? So anybody wants to take this one?
Once harmonized.
Maybe.
Yes, and you MDR and IVDR annexes. So that's included. The new forward, and actually content-wise, no change.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a table. It's like a table to say correspondence between here is the article of the ISO, here is the link with MDR, IVDR, and it's just to tell you which part is justifying what you are doing with MDR, IVDR. But Yeah, there is no difference.
Harmonized.
On your certification, should you mention this amendment or just mentioning 2016 is sufficient?
On which certification?
CE, MDR, IVDR.
The amendment.
Amendment.
Full amendment, yeah, because that's a European one, and that claims with the EU MDR. Therefore, that one.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that should be in your technical documentation and list of applied standards and everywhere.
Great. Great. So really thank you everyone, because we arrived to the hour now. So thanks everyone for joining this first medical device live expert. So we'll have other ones. This is recorded, so then we'll be launching that for next week again as a recording, so people can then get that again. And if you have still questions, don't hesitate to throw the question during on this video, because this is still available on LinkedIn and on YouTube and X also in the very few Twitter. And then we can also answer your question directly if you have some question there. Okay, then thanks everybody. Thanks for joining that, and I wish you a really nice day. Have a good day. Bye bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.